Really?
Oh, that's a great lead.
Yeah, I'm putting it all on you.
Right, yeah, great. Let's all just shoot the messenger. That's perfect. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, no, I got a text from PJ just a few minutes ago, just saying that, he was trying to make it, but he didn't think he was going to be able to. He had a conflict. He's got he had a family thing, I know, later on, but I don't know if it's related to that or what. I still think that we can be productive. It's been my position that the situation we're in right now with the cost for this, or the proposed cost for the bandstand, is not something that the general contractor is going to solve for us. It's not a general contractor problem. I think our scope has escalated to the point where it's created, the cost that we're looking at. This isn't a construction problem. I think it's a scope problem.
What was that last word, Andy?
It's not a construction.
Scope. Yes.
Yeah, scope. Sorry. Yeah.
Do we have a price yet?
121,000.
To put in the backflow?
No. The bandstand. We're talking about the bandstand first.
Sorry.
That's
Oh
all
my
right.
God.
You
I've already
gave
had
John
two
heart
on
failure.
today.
So for that, does everyone agree that price doesn't make sense?
It seems awfully high for what it is.
Yeah, I agree.
I do know that change orders tend to come at a premium at times. We certainly experienced that with the townhouse before, but a lot of it has to do with whether they have a subcontractor or not involved. That can, boost that.
This is not related to that. I don't believe. This is all about. We've made what was sort of a simple project a lot more difficult. Where now we're asking to excavate down 4 feet underneath each of the 8 columns, while the bandstand is in place, to pour foundations around this brittle structure. I think that's what's driving the cost, is the structural. Right now, this thing is sitting on some concrete blocks, and it's been there for 100 years. And what the design drawings are telling us is that we're gonna put the same, basically the same structure on new, 4 foot deep individual concrete footings, and that's really where a lot of the money is.
Okay.
Is that code that you have footings?
Nope, it is
Well,
not.
Well,
go ahead, Neil.
That's a result of our having a structural engineer involved. You're notoriously conservative in what they do, and he's calling for footings under those 8 columns. And as Andy says, the columns have been there for years. They have some deterioration, some of them, and all that. But and the code doesn't require that we have a 4 foot deep foundation under the columns. There's a clause in the code that says buildings under, I think it's 600 square feet or something, which the bandstand is, do not have to meet the requirements for 4 foot deep foundations.
Are you comfortable with not going forward with those, Neil? I mean, you're the one that brought in the structural engineer.
I know, unfortunately, he's someone I haven't worked with before. Our structural engineer that we normally work with is just too busy. So I talked with him, and that's what he felt he wanted to show. So that's what we've shown. But
Is this our call, or is this, I mean, Neil's got a sign on it, the plans, right? So he's got to be comfortable with what we put out.
I mean, we can go back and take another look at it and see if we can come up with some sort of an alternative way of doing this.
we don't have the luxury of a lot of time, Neil.
Yeah, I understand. but,
Is that the major cost driver? Is that,
Well,
Roof.
I don't know, do we have a breakdown from the contractor?
He's got a breakdown of the work, but not priced separately. So he's got all the individual pieces, but with one overall number. I mean, I think there are some other things in there. You know, we could have the roof, the
Right.
cedar shingles are not that old, but we're replacing the entire roof. So there are some things in there that maybe we could pare back.
Right. I was thinking about the roof myself. Yeah, it just seems to be, way too much.
Educated guess, Andy, if we were to do away with the footings and stick with the way it's structured today with the, did you say they're cement blocks? And didn't do the roof, what's going to come off the top? I mean, I know you don't have anything to go by other than intuition.
Hey, my reception is not so good. I think I heard the basic question. I can certainly talk to the GC and find out, if we want to start pulling this thing apart and what would he recommend. So I'm happy to do that.
it'd be great to understand what the major cost drivers are. I mean, because the number came back so much higher than anyone thought, right? I mean, it'd be great to know what those were.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it would really be helpful to have the estimate from JAM, itemized.
We can have a before and after maybe comparison. If we have multiple versions of this change order, right? There's got to be like something that we can reference back to how it jumped from point A to point B, so we can decide.
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly talk to the contractor and have him sort of break out what he thinks the high cost items are, and then I can circulate that around to everybody and see what we think.
We're not going to have the
I mean, I
luxury
know
of
it's the
another meeting prior to the select board meeting.
Could I ask a question? I know your answer, Paul, but would you folks consider using something other than a concrete ramp? Like I think in Shrewsbury, they use pre-finished metal slats as the walkway.
No, that's my thought.
I
don't know
knew
how
that was your
everyone else
answer before I asked the question.
We like the general concept of what we had mapped out. We just, are trying to trim back the price, and I don't know. To me, the concrete with the brick on top of it would be the best fit for what we have in there. If there was, if we go with wood, you lose the benefit of. I don't even know you can do that with the slope to get it to the slope that you want. Could you even do that with Trex or wood?
Oh, I'm sure you could. I mean, well, Andy, I'll let Andy answer that, but I would think so.
There are other downfalls with Trex too, and I believe didn't your structural engineer say that brick was easier to work with than Trex and would probably last longer?
I don't think Neil mentioned Trex. He was talking about the structure instead of the concrete, weren't you, Neil?
This was a what? This is not today. This is from a prior conversation.
No, I mean, I didn't say that.
I had heard that somewhere.
I would beg to differ on that. It's simply more complicated to pour some concrete and then lay brick than it is to just put down Trex.
Right, but you still got to get it to the right level, right? You have to have.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
No, but Neil, in Shrewsbury, you said that they use some sort of prefabricated metal for the base. Is that right? For the base, not
for the slats. In other words, they have a sloped walkway, and it's, if you will, instead of laying 4-foot wide pieces of Trex they used are metal.
Oh, I see.
That's
And
already,
It's ugly, by the way. I've seen it.
what's the structure like? Is it concrete or is it built?
no, I think it's just, I'm not sure what they use for a structure, but it's pretty lightweight and
Yeah.
not very involved.
I mean, we could change our whole, design, but then we'd have to go back to town again. We presented a design to the town. So I think that if we're going to go forward, we have to go forward with what we told the town we were going to go forward with. To me, where we can, try and adjust things is through value engineering here, like with the footings that we were talking about, and utilizing the existing roof where we can. Andy, are there other things like that you can see? We haven't had the benefit of seeing everything that you have in front of you.
I'd have to look at it again, to tell you the truth, Paul. I mean, I had a short list of stuff that I talked to PJ about, and that was sort of there was those couple of things, the foundation on the roof first. But again, I think it's a pretty quick thing to be able to review that with him. When I get back to my computer, I'll send the thing around that he sent to me, so everybody has it. But I think it's a pretty short exercise to take a look at it and have him parse it out a little bit for us.
I want to say I'm a little concerned with rushing, just to take a look, maybe slice some things off, because with this amount of money, and I think someone else had mentioned this too, that it could be cheaper just to get a whole brand new one. And I know the historical effect of it, but for $100,000, you could get a really beautiful one with 2 ramps up the side or something. I think we, when we're talking this much money, we should really understand all the options.
We don't have money, $120,000 to do that. We only have $120,000 to restore the old one.
Okay.
Is the
Right.
problem.
Right. Yeah.
That's good to
The money goes away if it's.
Yeah.
And there is no rush to spend the money either, because it's like, if it's better for us to say, okay, this isn't going to be done. I agree with the timing. It's like, why you get in a hurry and trip ourselves up on some other things that we don't necessarily want to, or unforeseen, and finish what we've started. I don't think what we're planning to do is going to interrupt or disrupt or create a problem for the work that's been done, only in a minor way around the bandstand, that you can plant more grass seed.
Yeah, I agree.
To be clear, go ahead, Andy.
No, I was just going to say, I agree. I think we need to sort of pull back for just enough time to be able to work through this thing without constantly trying to beat the next select board's meeting. And so that, again, I don't think it's going to take a lot of time, but I think we have to sort of just pull back and figure it out first, and then come to an agreement, and then go back to the select board.
And we have to take into consideration where we are in the building season. So right now, tomorrow is October 1st. If we don't go to meet with them on Tuesday, the select board, which is the 5th, I believe. Yeah, it's the 5th. Their next meeting is the 19th. Does that still leave us with enough time for them to get the work done? Or
Yes.
if by wait, you think it does?
Absolutely, yeah. There's almost no such thing as a building season anymore. I mean, the winter doesn't come till February, and there's generally been plenty of time. I mean, there's always anomalies, right? But we've got plenty of time to get this done.
And I'd just like to I mean, John Morgan is on a plane, so he couldn't take part, but I want to read what he said. He said, I will reiterate that although I would like to see the bandstand work done sooner rather than later, I feel we shouldn't proceed with the change order. There are too many issues to sort through, and rushing just to get it done could lead to an end product that we're not happy with. And I kind of feel the same way. I want to make sure, I'm concerned that, okay, JAM comes back and says, okay, we won't do a new roof, and we'll simplify the foundation, and it'll only be 80,000, and that's still too much money. Now I have no idea what they're going to come back with I realize that, but it seems unlikely they're gonna take it from 121 down to, something which I think is reasonable, like, under $50,000.
Oh, do we really know what's reasonable, Bill? I think that's where we got to rely on, Andy and Neil to
Oh,
do
I agree.
some
I agree,
estimating
but
against it. And I agree, we don't want to rush. And I think Betsy made that same
Mhm.
same comment. And I don't want to rush either. And if the contractor and Andy feel confident that the impending winter weather isn't necessarily going to be an impediment, to getting this done, then I think there's still time. I mean, we're still waiting for them to be able to get the lighting and all. That's not even ready yet. So we still have some cushion where they're there on site, and they have the library stuff. I don't know when have they done the brick in front of the library yet?
I don't think so.
Andy would know.
Didn't look.
They started work. They started work up there today in earnest.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, because I noticed no one was up there yesterday. So it sounds like we still have time. And I agree with you. We don't want to spend an exorbitant amount, but I don't know what the correct amount is. Maybe $80,000 is an appropriate amount. I don't know. Maybe 100,000 is, maybe 50. I just don't know.
I mean, I just don't understand why we're not getting multiple bids
well,
from
yeah,
multiple
Because
sources.
we can't, this is part of the law. So we've got a project that's already underway. So for us to allocate money that's been awarded through it, we have to do a change order to allow them to do the work. If we don't want to accept whatever they bid, or we want to go out to bid, that would have to be a separate project. And to do that, we'd have to start over again. So we would have to go to CPC. We'd have to, fill out an application, apply for the funding, get their support, then go to town meeting, get town meeting to support it. Once we had that funding, then we could go out to bid. So you'd be talking next spring, summer. Because
I think you'll find, when we're experiencing it now, that it's difficult to find bidders to bid the work.
Yeah.
We're doing some alterations to the entrances at the municipal center, and we had one bidder. Fortunately, he was under our budget. We went out to bid for some work for the recreational department. We had no bidders. And it was like a $47,000 budget, so it wasn't a small project. And we've issued it again to try and get some bids, but I'm not confident we'll have anyone bidding it. Everyone is so busy, they just pick and choose what they do.
Or is it a season, or is it we don't have enough labor to do
It's
the
the
work?
market.
the market right now, there's a lot of demand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think if we can work with the contractor we have, and we don't feel like we're being like ripped off, which I don't have any reason to think they're ripping us off. They want to work with us, bring it to a reasonable amount. Neil and Andy, are you guys able to come up with an estimate that you would know, like a range that would seem reasonable for the work?
that would be very helpful.
Yeah. that'd be great.
I don't really have that capability. The only alternative I would have would be to talk with the contractor and ask him what he thinks.
Well, even if we could get an itemization, a little bit more of an itemization instead of one number, that would be
Yeah,
helpful.
right.
Agreed.
I've said I will do that.
Okay, great, thank you. And I think I'd just like to say that, if it comes back that it's still going to be really expensive after we've made some modifications, then we need to be prepared to start all over again, have it be a separate project and do it in the spring, because, but hopefully we won't have to do that, but we need to be prepared to do that, I think.
I mean, do we have like an agreement, like, among ourselves, like what is like the maximum ceiling we're willing to go for this? I know it's high, it's unrealistic right now, but Is there a number in that we were thinking about?
I just
And what
want-
would that number be based on?
Yeah, that's what I don't know.
Yeah,
That's why
I mean,
and it's supply and demand, right? If and what Neil was just telling us is any indication, there's a lot of demand and very little supply for that work. So you can anticipate that it would
it
be
probably
a
won't
bit of
come down.
a premium. No, it won't come down.
If
it won't
the
get us-
demand's still high, you know, it's
I think we're having the wrong conversation. This isn't about. I keep saying it. It's a scope problem, not a cost problem. The scope is creating the cost. If we reduce the scope, the cost is going to come down. I feel like this contractor has been pretty good with us. I think they've been very sort of candid about cost in the past and cost for this. When he gave me this number, he was like, he said, this is way too much for what we're doing. I don't like it. And I really think you got to think about, ways to bring this down, because he was like, it's almost embarrassing to give you this number because it's uncomfortable for what we're talking about.
Okay,
So
great.
I trust him. I just think we have to get ourselves to the right scope where we can do this thing and we can believe in it. So I think part of that is taking the next step. I'll talk to PJ and have him itemize what he's
Right.
got, as well as give us some suggestions about what he would recommend.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's real helpful, Andy. Thanks.
Yeah, that would be great. And if there's something he says, this particular piece is, really expensive, if you could modify it in some way that would make a significant savings, anything like that would be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, he's very willing to sort of really have an open discussion about this. It's a shame he couldn't be on this call like we had
Right.
planned.
Right.
But I do think that he's very willing to have a real, just a real open conversation about how best to get this done.
Mhm. Great.
If they can identify the budget buster and a workaround, that would be great.
Yeah, the budget buster is the foundation. I mean,
Mhm.
it's just quantifying that, right? So I think the next step is pretty clear.
Yeah, it seems to me if what's worked for many, many years should be just fine. We don't need to improve upon that. So,
Right.
Well, let's move forward then. And Andy, you'll get in touch with those folks and we'll agree to have another Zoom chat about this maybe next week. Does that sound good, Paul?
Yes.
Well, I think we'll schedule something once we know that we're ready. I'll reach out to Joanne and get our meeting on the 5th taken off, and I'll just leave it open that we'll get back to them when we're ready to meet. Hopefully that won't be much beyond the 19th. I think the next meeting is November 2nd.
Okay, and so does that finish our discussion for this?
No,
project?
it finishes it for the bandstand, but I still
now
want
we
to make
get-
sure
Right.
Andy has what he needs from Paul for the
Backflow.
backflow preventer. Yeah.
Wait a minute.
I think it would be well to, once Andy gets that breakdown, if he were to distribute it to folks so they have a chance to study it a little before we reconvene.
Yeah, I think he said he was going to send
and
that. So.
I did say I would do that.
Okay, great.
So Paul was good enough to provide us with the details of the backflow preventer work. Is that enough,
Okay.
Andy, for you to get pricing?
When did that come out?
I sent it to you early in the week.
I will have to check. I didn't see it.
I can resend it to you. Hold on.
Okay. I don't think you need me for this discussion, do you?
No, you can go,
No, thanks,
Neil.
Neil.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Talk
Have a
with you
good night.
soon.
Let me just find the note.
Yeah, sorry, Paul. I've been on top of my email this week. I always am, and I don't know how I missed that one. That's an important one.
Paul got back to me on Monday. All right, I'm gonna have to do a search of everything. Hold on.
While he's doing this, if I can ask an unofficial, not on the agenda question, has the Unitarian Church started other than the removal of the trees on their ramp?
Not as of a few days ago.
Okay,
They
Don't
have
know.
not. We
Don't
met,
know why.
yeah, and we had met with them in May, and they said they were gonna start then, and they haven't.
okay,
Right.
because I know
Yeah.
they wanted to get it done so people could get in um, for church. So I just didn't know if there was a reason that something came up. That seems like we agreed to everything and everything was all steam ahead. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was quite a while ago. We met with them, Paul, right?
Yeah, it was Memorial Day-ish, or June,
Yeah.
May or June.
That's right.
Before
Yeah.
my surgery, it was, in the spring still, or right before summer.
So there's a whole string of them here. I think I can send you the whole string in. There it is. I'll forward it right now. Shane. All right, it's on its way. But Paul gave a
Okay.
pretty good description. Let's see if I can just. I can probably read it to you.
Other than don't read my snarky comment at the beginning.
No, I won't read that. He said the job is installing a meter pit provided by Grafton Water District, backflow preventer, and piping to connect all components to the sprinkler system. Potential scope: excavate to expose existing water service, crip existing service, and install new curb stop provided by Grafton Water District. Install a new meter pit, plumb from new curb stop to meter pit, plumb from meter pit to new backflow preventer to be installed along fence at north end of common, exact location to be determined in the field, plumb from the backflow preventer to existing sprinkler service, fill in existing non-compliant pit, backfill loam and seed. Contractor needs to provide excavator, backflow preventer, copper piping and fittings, clean fill loam and seed. So the one confusion I had with that was I had thought the water district was providing the backflow preventer itself. They are not, and that is probably a couple to a few $100.
Right. Okay. No, that sounds like it's enough to me. And between that and a walkthrough, again, I can talk to Jim. They need to get a plumber to come out there and walk through it. And then they should be able to provide a price. I think that's exactly what we need.
Awesome. All right, so we can work on both of those, and then
we
once
know
we're
if the
at-
Paul, tell us about the pit. Explain that a little bit. How big, how deep?
It's, it's gonna be 4 feet deep just to be below the frost. It's not very big. It's size of a 55-gallon drum. It's a small pit, so.
and that's got to be covered.
Yeah,
You
it'll be
said-
covered, yeah.
Copper piping, not steel IPS or cast iron?
No, he's definitely not gonna use steel at all, because
I mean,
so it would either be plastic or copper. I just think
Yeah.
that copper, plastic fails, more readily than copper, so it's just.
yeah, cold temperature, yeah.
So the piping would come through the cover.
It would be all, the meter, obviously the pit's in the ground.
Yeah.
All the piping's gonna be underground, other than where there'll be 2 stab ups, where the backflow goes. There'll be a piece of pipe out of the ground, another piece of pipe out of the ground, 18 inches away and back into the ground.
Is that coming out of the cover to the pit, or is it next to the pit?
It would be under the ground, just wherever we decide we're gonna put the backflow in the end. So you pipe, so the pit goes in the ground, the pipe leaves the pit, and then you say, all right, we want to be on this side of the fence, you run it over to that side of the fence. And it comes up out of the ground again. The pipe's gonna be buried the whole way. The only part of the pipe you'll see is a little like up and over and down where the backflow's attached.
Like a U,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And then we're-
Inverted U. So it seems like we should probably just wait for it all to be installed and see what it looks like, and then we can talk about maybe disguising it somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
when we met up there with the water district folks, myself, Andy, the water guys, Daryl, it's, along the fence line, it's the most secure just because they can secure it to the fence. Or even if they secured it to one of the granite posts, just so, nobody's gonna grab onto it and be yanking it and pulling on it or something like that. That was our thought on going close to that fence on the north side.
So we were thinking of a way to camouflage it, utilizing the old town public drinking water fountain that one of the fire folks had restored. Could you get a picture of that for us? It's in the highway barn, we understand.
Yeah, it's in the old tree barn. Yeah, I can certainly do that.
That would be great, because not all of us have seen it.
Yeah.
If we can just give a picture that gives some reference to the size of it, maybe have someone stand next to it or something.
Yeah, I'll stand. Me and Kevin will model it.
There you go. That would be awesome.
I have a question about the backflow, because in Texas, where at my mom's house, we had a sprinkler system put in. And the way a backflow works is you have to have that go up, I don't know if it's 18 inches over the highest point of your sprinkler system. And my mother's house is on the hill. So we had to have, it's almost a 4-foot tall backflow preventer. And if that's the same case in Massachusetts, does this backflow preventer need to be at the south end of the common rather than the north? Because you have to have the backflow higher than the highest point of your sprinkler zone.
They weren't concerned about that at all. That was
Okay.
So they were, they met us right there and stood there with us and said, this would be a good spot.
Okay. Well, I mean, it could be a good spot. It's just that your backflow is going to be 4 feet tall
Yeah, no,
rather than 18 inches.
no, they're satisfied with the height.
Okay.
Yes, and the water district manager is aware of the, the limitations we have. So he was fine with what we proposed. So.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, so I think we have our marching orders. I'll cancel our meeting with the select board and leave it open-ended as to when we will reschedule.
Great.
Andy will work with PJ on pricing. And I just leave it that you'll get back to us, Andy, you're going to send us what you have right now, but then you get back to us after you've had that conversation with PJ. Hello, Andy?
Yeah, mute.
Yeah.
But I think
Might add something, interrupt him.
Might be on the other line.
Well, I think that was what his plan was at any rate.
Yeah,
I can follow up with him
Yeah,
afterwards. Yeah, he
think-
just dropped off.
Okay,
I'll send him an email.
yeah, we're good for today?
I think so. I mean, not where I had hoped we'd be, but that's fine. As long as Andy's comfortable that there still is the possibility of them doing work later. I worry about winter coming in, but I guess the part that's really more seasonable has been done all right.
Can I bring something else up unrelated to all of that?
Certainly.
Sure.
For the good of the group, so I don't know if any of you are aware, but there was no generator installed at the library.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Beth has asked me, and I'm contacting Caterpillar for a generator quote. Obviously now it's too late to put it anywhere but close to the building where we don't have to run conduit across the parking lot. So my thoughts, and this is just for discussion points now, because I'm going to end up meeting with the sales rep from CAT over the next couple of weeks so she can get it in for a capital request. If you're looking at the library, on the left-hand side down over that concrete wall, kind of where the old elevator used to be, in that vicinity.
Yep.
There's a grassy area, and that's where the electrical room in that building is. So that, for install, it would be certainly the
Place.
the place to put it. It obviously be blocked from the front because it's set down enough. It's probably 6 feet down from the front of the building. Obviously, the side's going to need some screening. But just on, for, you know, just so you guys can start thinking about that, because it's, so I need to, you know, obviously pricing it is largely dependent on location, and how far they have to run the conduit. And
Paul, would it be near the electrical panel that there are all those yellow poles around?
Against the building, I think, right?
yeah,
Close to
you know, if it's kind of as soon as you make the corner onto 140, right behind that concrete, old,
Yeah.
you know, the existing concrete wall that you can see from the street, from South Street side.
So more where the basement door used to be to
Yeah,
the
correct.
living room?
Yep, right there. Because that's
So-
actually now the new electrical room. So,
Corner would be preferable, certainly, because you could box it off easier and it would look less odd than if it was in the
Yeah.
middle
yeah,
of the building. And that existing electrical one is more towards the middle of the building, but further away from it.
yeah.
That's like the absolute worst place that it could possibly be.
Paul, I'm sorry, I missed the phone call. I missed the first part of what you said. I'm on the library committee.
Oh, you are?
This wasn't even on the
No, no, no.
radar.
Right, no, I'm not saying, I'm just saying, you
No,
know,
but it should have been. I mean, this is something the architect should have said, have
right,
you
Oh,
thought
yeah.
about this?
Oh,
And the
totally.
town should have said, we've got them in all our other buildings.
yeah.
Right.
It was, when I walked in there,
The building inspector should have said that.
well, the first, you know, when I walked in there, I mean, it was well past the point where, you know, it was even doable. The granite was installed. I was like, where the heck's the generator? And there isn't one. So I said to Beth, I was like, it's, you know, it's a critical building for the community. Can be used for anything. And the power goes out for 15 minutes, you're gonna throw everybody out.
Right.
And God forbid it goes out for a long duration. You know, pipes are gonna freeze. You don't know where the cold spots in that building are, what's gonna go
Right.
quicker. So we're gonna have to try and, you know, hopefully make it through the winter without having an issue. But it's, you know, so I said to Beth, you know, she asked me if I would do it as, you know, so she can submit it as a capital request. Which I think it really, you know, we need to do it. So it's local, you know, the best location for that, for a generator that could power the whole building. It wouldn't be huge, but if you took a look behind the center fire station, would be similar in size to that generator.
So you would think like some kind of fencing to enclose it?
Either fencing or shrubbery, but I mean, you know, there has to be a certain distance away because there's, you know, air needs to get in on one side and out the other for the
Right.
and everything else.
Couple of arborvitaes or something like that?
Yeah, so, or, you know, and if I could ask, you know, we could specify a specific color. I'm not sure that you know, I'm sure they have green ones and everything else to try and be more acceptable, but I'm not sure how much, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
Is something like this gonna be 100,000, or do you have any idea? what-
My best guess would be probably 200, 2 to 3. And I said to Beth, I said, you should request 300,000 because a lot of the electrical work, it's transfer switch in the building. There's
Right.
a lot of electrical work, so it's just.
Because we're at the end of the road for money for the
Yeah, I know.
I
library.
was going to ask, is there any money left in the budget?
Yeah, no, she's gonna have to ask as a
Nope.
special, you know,
It's spent.
throw it out there for the capital committee to decide on it. It's, you know,
CIPC, yeah.
one broken pipe because of no heat is gonna cost more than the generator. So.
Right.
um,
Wow, that's a big
I'm
miss.
I'm hoping there's money for our shielding, whatever it's called, for the roof. The
Oh.
roof.
Green?
That's great.
Yeah.
There's no money left for that?
I'm hoping there's
I
money.
hope that's
for that.
already included in the money.
Oh, I don't know. Andy's gone. He could answer that. We have a meeting Monday. I'll ask.
But if
I
you
will
guys,
ask.
you know, that's the location I was gonna have the guy, you know, look at. Like I say, because the electrical room is where the entrance to the children's room used to be. It just makes it's the most economical sense and can easily be hidden. Because going into the parking lot is just unfeasible. You know, ripping up the parking lot and the granite to run the conduit just is not, it's a non-starter.
There's too much stuff on the other side too,
Well,
there's like the
there's a-
walkway and all that.
There's kind of a quiet reading space on that other side as well.
Yeah, you wouldn't want it there.
And then to get the conduit into the electrical room, you'd have to obviously ruin newly installed other stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Don't want to do any of that.
So that's just to get it on your radar. I'll obviously report back once I talk to the cat guy. So yeah, I'm gonna get a price from him because they'll be the most expensive. So, and then
That's the
If somebody
equipment
could
itself.
take pictures to share, like of that corner of the building, so everybody for at the next meeting, so that if it's a Zoom
That
thing
would be
again,
helpful. Yeah.
just
I can take some pictures of that tomorrow as well, and a couple other, the fire department generator with somebody standing there. So you can get us, it's big, it's gonna be bigger than you think. It's not a refrigerator. It's a lot bigger than that. But I'll get some pictures and send them around to you.
That'd be
Great,
great.
thank you.
You're taking a lot of pictures for us.
It's all right.
Yeah, 3 different things.
Don't need to buy film anymore.
Yeah.
That's true. All right. Well, I will follow up with Andy and Joanne.
Great. And we'll stay tuned.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank
Good
you, everyone.
night, gentlemen. Good seeing
We'll
you.
see you.